Then he directed Langbodo for the Festac 77, a play which was one of the most memorable events of the festival and which up till today still lives in the minds of those who were part of the festival.
Professor Adelugba has always been in the forefront of major theatrical events in Nigeria. He also directed the first act production of Langbodo, Wale Ogunyami's Langbodo, and that, received very rave reviews. I was in the technical team, for Langbodo, along with Sumbo Marino and a few of us and the late Inyang Emma. And this was a major production that happened in Nigeria. Thereafter, they had a couple of tours abroad and all of that.
It was a lot of effort. We started fairly late in our view as theatre practitioners. We started working towards Langbodo in July, which some people would say was early. But we thought that 6 months was barely enough to capture our vision of what a national and nationalistic work like Langbodo could do for the audiences. And we had our actors and production staff from all the arts councils, all the theatre ensembles, all the institutes that existed at the time. Therefore, it was a national package, if you like. We didn't realize this, how very emblematic it was going to be. And ever since Langbodo in January 77, the national and proto-national troops of Nigeria have gone from strength to strength. And today we can boast not only of a national theatre troupe, but of theatre troops in all the states of the Federation and in all the universities. We can boast of the preeminence of attention being given to theatre training and theatre studies in a broader sense.
Perhaps his most outstanding role was that of Daudu in Professor Wole Soyinka's Kongi's Harvest, both on stage and celluloid.
Yes, 2 levels of experience. The Daudu that I played for the stage, that's one level, and the Daudu that I played for the film, which was by and large an adaptation of the play, directed by Ossie Davis, the Afro-American actor-director, and Soyinka as co-director. It was great fun. And I think the lady who played opposite me in the film, Bendel Semper, if I remember the name correctly, Nina Bendel Semper, was very amused by this Daudu who seems to be needing help to romance in a satisfactory way. Anyway, it was just a joke that Daudu was probably too upright, too prim and too pretty to actually let go. But Nina Bendel Semper was a very good mate as Segi in Kongi's Harvest. And the Nigerian players for Segi in the stage version, Betty Okotie, who later became Betty Okotie Barrett, Aina Lewis, these were also very highly accomplished actresses who challenged one to be as good as one could possibly be.
One mark of Adelugba which has endeared him to his numerous students, old and new, is his humility. He is strict too.
Someone is still talking there. Someone is talking there. If you can do what you have been rehearsed to do, that will make sense. You're acting like a spoiled baby. And that's no good at this level. She can speak. I'm not asking you to speak for her. That's just a misplaced gallantry.
Believing honesty to be the best policy, his students have earned their marks.
He was a teacher. For a lot of us, he was a teacher. He wasn't a lecturer. To me, there's a distinction between that phrase lecturer and teacher. He was loved by a lot of us. He was hard on us, But you could know that you will know that his hardness on us was more on for your own good, to ensure that we come out as some of the best students, And I had an experience with him, which for me was quite instructional. You are made to work. You really feel the value of what he's teaching you, and he's not like your typical everyday lecturer. He was always there. His office was always open. You could walk in any time. You could seek advice. He was like a father.
Yeah, Prof is actually a father. I met him when I was an undergraduate, 1975, 76, and 77 when I left Ibadan. And as of that time, Prof was much stronger, definitely younger. And the way he took us, I mean, I'm not from the West, I did not speak a word of Yoruba, but he took us and treated us like his own children. And he was there available for us 24 hours. No other lecturer at Ibadan would do that for you. And after that, he kept in contact. I am a member of many professional organizations. Prof put me into them. One of them, International Theatre Institute of Nigeria, which he's a Secretary General. Shoyinka is president. I became organizing secretary.
When I was doing a PhD under him, I was a lecturer at the University of Sokoto Osman Danfodio University. And I was broke. I needed money to go to Sokoto to get my salary. And I went to him. Please, can you lend me 50 naira? 50 naira in 1986 was a lot of money. And he quickly gave me 50 naira. I went to Sokoto, came back, went to his office to thank him, and I returned the money. Woo! He blew taps. What? Don't you think I am old enough to be your father? Don't you think I'm old enough to be your father? I had to plead with him. I kept the money. It's such a person.
When you're talking about Dapo Adelugba, you're not just talking about a lecturer or a teacher. You're talking about a friend, a father. He was the kind of lecturer who took so much interest in his students beyond the classroom. He was the type that wanted to know what kind of problems his student was having, to the extent that he could even pay some people's school fees.
I have known Professor Adelugba for a very long time now, since 1970. He was my teacher, and after graduating, I worked under him when he was the chairman of Oyo State Arts Council, and later, when I joined the Department of Theatre Arts in 1984, I became his colleague. And from that time, I can say that having interacted with him in 3 different levels, as a student, and as a worker under him, and as a colleague, I know he's a very pleasant person to meet. He could annoy you at times, but one thing is, he knows his onions. When he wants to scold you, and you assess the level of that scolding, you know that it's towards your own goal, and that's the person, Professor Adelugba.
If he does not handle his students with kid gloves, inspiring hard work every inch of the way, one wonders why the students have kept coming back, preferring him as their supervisor on their master's and PhD thesis.
Oh yes, of course. I mean, to the best of my knowledge, Professor Dapo Adelugba has supervised the largest number of PhDs in theatre arts. Starting from Professor Femi Oshofinson's PhD, which he co-supervised along with Professor Abiola Irele, to the PhDs of quite a number of people, and including Dr. Soye Omorege, who is now Dr. Momodu. For someone like that, he has impacted so much. I mean, I don't see how any of us could have become professors of theatre arts in the last 10, 15 years or thereabout that Professor Dapo Adelugba did not have a hand in.
That's why at 3 a.m. you can go and knock on his door and Prof will attend to you. In Nigeria, who would do that for you? And should you even have personal problems, you'll attend to them. I am not at home for most of the time. Prof makes it a point of duty to check on my family. Should there be any need, he provides for my family. It's a very rare thing. No teacher would want to go to that extent for his student. So by breaking down that formal barrier, I think Prof is there making himself available for generations of Nigerian students who have gone through him. And I think for many people who do not even know him, is that rare quality in him that really brings a lot of people to him, and such experience, nobody will forget him. That's why Prof has a family virtually anywhere he goes. That's the Professor Adelugba wider family, to which I'm proud to be one.
The most moving sight for me was when I went to see, well, what happened was I had gone to represent the then Vice Chancellor of Ahmadu Bello University at a committee of Vice Chancellors. And Professor Adelugba, who was then Dean of Arts, was the secretary of our committee. And he had very bad eyesight. And Dr. Da Silva was writing his PhD. And even though his eyes were bad, he couldn't read. He was making Da Silva read his thesis so he could correct it. I mean, that for me showed dedication. It showed service. It showed even a bond of trust. Dr. Da Silva was reading that thing, believing that even though Adelugba couldn't see, he could hear. And his mind was there, and it was always amazing when he would say, no, stop, I think you should have said, even as more critical than he could have been if he had his eyes together. And that for me was very touching. And I envied that, the relationship he had with his students. Most of all, what we don't have now is the teacher-student relationship. I teach at the University of Lagos, and I know that I try to emulate him and do that, but the quality of even the friendship is so watered down.
When I was doing a PhD under him, he had a car accident, which I assume affected his eye, and he went to UCH for surgery. He was to remain in hospital for a couple of days before the surgery. And the man went there with books. The nurses said, no, you can't, you should not come with books. We want the eyes relaxed and stuff like that. And he hid the books. When the nurses were not there, he picked the books, he was reading the books. The nurses went to the doctor, they reported him, and the man decided to continue. And the doctor came and they used whatever and closed one of the eyes. He used the other eye to read. They closed both, and you know what he did? He created a roster. All of us, masters and PhD students, we had to go to the hospital to read for him. We had to go to the hospital to read for him. Even my PhD thesis. By the time he crossed all the T's and dotted all the I's, he was not satisfied. He said the work needed a kind of editorial touch. He advised me to contact one student who was very good. You all know him. He's now working with Guardian, Dr. Abati, Ruben. Then he was doing his master's thesis. He said, go to Ruben. Ruben is a good student. Let him read through the thesis for you. And I took the thesis to Ruben. Ruben read through the thesis and assisted with some corrections. I came back to him. I have finished. He said, now, see me tomorrow with the thesis in my house. Home, not office. What time? 6 a.m. My God.
I was very angry myself when I heard about it. In fact, I went to the length of scolding the boy. Ask him how I took him to task for his lack of consideration for a father whose very footsteps he ought to worship. You couldn't have put it very strongly yourself, sir. But in the end, sir, I calmed down.
From the postgraduate school, I was in his house the following day at 6 a.m. And the man was not awake. His niece, who used to stay with him, came to say, you come in, have a seat. And I went in, sat down. After a few minutes, the man opened his bedroom door. Come in. And And I went in. He had nothing on apart from pants, just underwear. I mean, I'm not talking about underwear singlet. I'm talking about just the pants. I was shocked. I went in to his bedroom, and he went to one of the corners in the room, picked his State Express 555 cigarette. He lit a stick, went back to bed and said, "Start reading." Reading what? My thesis. I want to listen to the rhythm of your thesis, the flow of thought. Jesus, I told you, 450 something page thesis, reading through orally. When I did it, it took a couple of days. That's Dapo Adelugba.
What I think makes the students come back, and they come back with their doctorates and so on, they still want to do postdoctoral work. What makes things so exciting is that these well-groomed ladies and gentlemen want to continue to share knowledge, and they know that that is something that I'm very kind of devoted to, the sharing and the dissemination of knowledge, especially in our chosen field of specialization of theatre arts. So yes, it is true that perhaps haven't had the advantage of a head-on start, that I've supervised perhaps more PhD and MA theses and dissertations than most other people. But then it has to be remembered that I came into the field quite early and have stayed with it ever since. Indeed, many people of eminence have been old students of one, and one doesn't claim any great credit for this. I think it was just a stroke of fortune that our fates get interlocked in that very fruitful way.
Adelugba may have remained inseparably married to the academics and may have been unwavering in his dedication to tutoring and the arts, but it has not been a bed of roses. He has seen enough to have driven him away to greener pastures. 3 ugly incidents have kept people wondering why he has refused to quit. The first happened very early in his career.
Professor Dapo Adelugba took the contingent from the then Western states to a performance. And unfortunately, on the way back, there was a ghastly motor accident between Kaduna and the next village coming back, and about 18 of the artists lost their lives, including the then leader of the Oluyole Theatre. He, along with his wife and some members of their troupe, and the young student of government college, Duro Saro, who died in the accident. This was it was due to one of those heavy Harmattan haze in the north then, and the bus ran into a stationary trailer, and 18 of them. This was a very sad moment, and it's something that I believe that Professor Adelugba must have wished that it didn't happen.
Arts administration in 1972, when this accident happened, was at what I would call its infant stage. Productions had been taken out at different times from one part of the country to another, or to a national festival, but nobody had ever looked closely at the dynamics of the organization of the festivals. The error they made was in allowing some of the actors to inspire the others, saying, look, there's no point staying one more night if we're not going to get any extra code, any special honorarium for the extra night. Why don't we go back to Ibadan and then spend the whole of must have been Saturday at the time, spent the whole of Saturday sleeping off the fact that we had to leave on a Friday night. So the deaths were unfortunate, but they drew attention to the fact that perhaps there should have been more consultation about the honoraria, and that there should not have been an imposition from the part of the governmental organizers. The arts organization of Western states and of other states of the country also learned a lesson from it, that arts organization could be a very delicate matter and that it needed careful handling. It was just assumed that the actors would take what they could get and would understand. But unfortunately, we ran out of luck on this particular exercise. And I want to state that I went in as guest director for the state troupe, not as a civil servant for the state troupe.
Then, the two fire incidents that almost sank the Titanic.
Although the two fire incidents of 95 and 98 are pretty tough to take, considering how much one has lost through the two accidents. But my years in Ibadan transcend the experience, the sad experience of those two incidents, which actually came close to the end of my tenure. But I would say that Ibadan has been a place, a cultural capital, not only for Nigeria, but for most of the third world. Ibadan has the right combination of slowness and speed to accommodate temperaments of an artistic nature. Unlike, say, Lagos, which is very fast, and I'm told Abuja is also trying to be as fast as Lagos. But I must say that my years at the University of Ibadan and in Ibadan have been very, very good years indeed, years in which one was able to exercise one's initiative, and the whole theatre arts discipline was new at the time we came into it. And therefore one was able to grow with the discipline itself, as it were. And that growth has been manifest in the fact that it has led to the growth in other people.
That's the high point of assessing a man, because for him to have lost so much, in fire, and yet, even when some of us were feeling for him, he was the one still consoling us. And up to today, he has nothing, no books, no cloth. So he lives on that one, and for everything to have been destroyed in the infamy. But yet the man is not bound, he's not destroyed. You still find him going strong, despite the fact that he has lost everything. So I want to say that the essence of man is the ability to go through this kind of tragic affairs and still infuse strength in some others. When the incident happened, even if you ask him, say, what was Lanre Bamile's reaction, he will tell you that I felt too much for him because he has no bank account. That's all that he has. No house anywhere, and for all that to be destroyed, what can he? And you can see what we have lost. If the library has been there, you can see what the generations unborn would have tapped from. So, but some of us might feel that one. I have said it somewhere that even while I was giving a citation on him, he is a very strong man who does not, the ups and downs and the fortitude of life does not bow his spirit.
Ọ̀kàrẹ̀ o bàbá mi, ọmọ wa ọmọ ẹ̀fọn àrùnkànjẹ, ọmọ olégbẹ̀fọ̀n ọ̀yà roko, àẹ̀fọ̀n àrídókò kẹ́yà méjì, ọmọ kẹ́bọ̀ wà mìíràn tán, ọmọ olúmọ̀jọ ẹ̀sà, ọmọ amúnirúbọ kí yèyé rẹ̀ yá kárùfín, àrùfín ẹbọ àrúdà ẹbọ àná òlóhùn, ọmọ onígẹ̀rú àwòṣánpá ọ̀tún, ìgbà òmíràn lù ìròjò orí bí agbélù ìròkun ọmọ awọ́yọkùn kọbìnrin lọ́wọ́ ọ̀sán ìpẹ̀lẹ́ o bọ̀dá mi bàbá mi ní apẹ́ fún wa o ayé ayé yín o ẹ̀ dàgbà ẹ̀ dàrúgbó o lágbára Jésù arúgbó yín á tún dáa sí lágbára Ọlọ́run ẹ̀ pẹ́ fún wa àwa náà pẹ́ fún yín lágbára Jésù.
Adelugba, no doubt, has impacted positively on so many lives, many of whom are highly placed in the society today. Is it not an irony, therefore, that he has not been accorded any national honor?
This country is never fair to people who are brilliant and dedicated. They're never fair. They just use them and dump them. If you read my play, in Kafo's last game, I told you that before. I said that you only become a hero in Nigeria after you are dead and buried. The problem is, once we can't accept you for how good you are, we dump you and we pull you down. And unfortunately, thank God Adelugba wasn't pulled down. But Adelugba wasn't given his, I don't know why he's not a national award personality right now. I mean, thinking of the minds that he has trained. I don't know why Adelugba never became a vice chancellor.
I sincerely look forward to a national honor that will be bestowed on Dapo Adelugba at 70. To other Nigerians, if we were to all emulate at Dapo Adelugba, then Nigeria will be a better place for it. The academia will be better for it. Nigerian society will be better for it.
Daddy, I love you. I love you so much. I thank you for the honor of being your daughter. And thank you. I am basking in your reflected glory as everybody celebrates you. It's an honor for me to be part of it. I'm very proud of you, Daddy. Very proud of you. Very proud of the values that you hold. Very proud of your integrity, of your generosity. You are generous to a fault, and I love that about you. You are not like everybody else. You don't bow to the pressures around you. You have stayed steadfast. You have run the race thus far. I like the fact that you have focused. You've chosen one thing that you're absolutely brilliant at, and you have focused on it, and we have seen now the fruits of your labors. I'm very proud of you. I'm very proud to be called Adelugba.
And what is the living legend's take on the Nigeria project?
There is a lot of hope for Nigeria, and I would say that one or two of them might show their pranksterishness here and there. But you go back to that scoundrel Suberu, and you find that Suberu was a lovable rogue who worked to the advantage of the young ones who are not able to capture the kinds of monies that their avaricious and stingy fathers had kept away and would not spend as well as the young ones would spend it anyway. So that again becomes a symbol of growth. That scoundrel Suberu. I feel fulfilled, but I'm not a wealthy man. And many wealthy people might not quite feel fulfilled, but talking quite seriously, I do feel fulfilled. I want to be remembered as one who came to Nigeria at a time when it was growing, at the time when opportunities were there, and who has been privileged to be part of the process of nation building.
The space must be clearly conceived. If you as director have not conceived the space, how can you then convince your actors?
If true greatness means great service to one's fatherland and mankind, we await that time when those who hold power in trust for the people will have the presence of mind to beam their searchlights beyond the gloomy chandeliers of the corridors of power and pick out true patriots for national honors. Tomorrow, maybe, we await the dawning of a brighter and better tomorrow.
I just want to say a big thank you to all those who have participated in one way or the other in making these 7 decades so far kind of worthwhile enterprise. And I believe that with a lot of dedication, Nigeria will reach its ultimate goal.
Ó tutọ́ sí mi lára ó gbá mi létí má fara mọ́.